Hello everyone. Went to a shop championship yesterday. Got second place with a red blue cooler. So that was pretty nice. It was really late at night, so I didn't make a video right away. But we got a nice champ freezer that's gonna go in the deck eventually. A couple champ coolers, which honestly I don't think it really goes in the deck because the way I play it is a bit more aggressive to mid-range. I don't really play it to the pure mill, and it's not really a turn 2 play you want to play as an aggro to mid-range player. So I'm probably not going to use those. But it was a fun tournament. So let's go over the deck real quick, and then we'll go over some changes after that. We'll also talk about the matchups I played. So of course we got the cooler leader. So he's cool. We've got 4 of the arrival coolers. There's non-SPR because some people aren't familiar with some of the images. And then we have 4 of the Frieza. You can honestly go down to 3 of these. I run 4 just because I don't want to put a different multi in the main. But when I adjust the deck, it is going to go down to 3. 4 boos, once again, 3 of these is fine. There's a lot of barrier stuff, so it doesn't do anything against barriers, so going down to 3 of this is fine. Plus, it is pretty expensive, so I can understand not getting 4 of them. Next, 4 of the Beerus Super Combo. So we don't run any of the draw ones. In theory, against people where we want to be doing our rival against, we're going to draw anyway due to our leader ability. So having the extra draw on the super combo isn't what we're looking for. You'll notice after this we have 4 of the check lanes, the freezes. You'll probably notice that we have 20 multicolor cards. It's because I don't count the super combos as multicolor in terms of deck, because in theory you're not going to charge any. But if you're really in a pinch, you'll charge 1 at most. So I basically look at it as a 16 multicolor deck, which is what you want when you're building a 50 card deck for a fair mulligan percent into at least 1 multicolor. I will say that if you really want to, you can probably go down to 14. Like I said, removing a freeze and a boo, and you'd be fine because of those extra super combos you can possibly charge. Next, you have 4 topos. I like it because against wide boards and aggro, you can stop them and then play your own 5-drop freeze and punish them. But you could go down to 3 for those of you who can't afford these either, because in the control matchups, it's pretty dead. Next, for Senzu Beans. Since we are playing more aggressive, I always like to tap out during my turn a lot, or close to tap out. So Bean lets you come back from that and even let you extend during your own turn. And then during your opponent's turn, you can super combo and then even Bean and have a lot more energy than your opponent expected you to. 3 copies of the Frieza's Death Embrace. I love the card, and I understand why people run 4, but realistically you only want to have 1 out on the field at a time, possibly 2, because they are very vulnerable to be popped, especially in like the mirror match. So you want to be careful with how many of these you actually play at a time, and that's why I don't run 4, because too many in your hand can be very dead. I will say it is very helpful in the Invoker matchup though. 3 of the Mach Speed Gokus. It's just a very good value card in this deck. It's also one of the few counter plays, so if your opponent's main decking 1-drop Broly, it lets you use your energy and punish. I will say you could probably go down to 2 of that though. 3 of the Intensifying Power Trunks. You need a Self-Awakening. I picked this over the Pan because number 1, the crit helps, because in the grindy games, 1 less card for your opponent's a big deal. Yes, the pan goes back to your hand, so in theory you're putting a card back too, but I've just found that this helps a lot more. This also baits more negates, while people just straight up take the pan. And I'm not really worried about the arrival. I rarely arrival using my regular cards. I normally like to arrival for 1. I don't like to ditch 2 cards to arrival, because we don't draw the most. 3 after image. A solid card in the deck because it is still a mill 1. You don't draw anything off it. It's also, since we are tapping out, it does let us play the game with no energy if we're playing aggressively. And it's a very good card against the victory strikes. Next, 2 of the exploiting weakness, Vegeta. Just a decent board wipe against aggro. It comes out a lot in the control matchups because it doesn't really do anything in control matchups. 2 copies of the Frieza No Introduction as a way to cheat out the other Frieza. The other mention is in the back you'll see the package that lets you put Friezas back in your hand, or Frieza clans. So you can actually recycle these negates using them. That's not the best use for them, but hypothetically, let's say you don't have a Frieza for some reason, cycling your negates is pretty good. 2 Gohans. The reason I do 2 Gohans and not like 3 or 4 Friezas is this card is good against leaders that attack a lot because you can target leader with its auto, and if you're targeting their battle cards, you get a replace, you get to draw and mill a card. So in a lot of ways, that's very useful since it can basically become a cantrip for you. 2 of the combo attack coolers. Very useful for reusing your rivals, and of course reusing your negates. The reason I run 2 is, like I said, this is a little bit more aggressive, and being a 25 in theory when swinging is helpful, and being a 25 on defense on the first swing against it is helpful. And your opponent doesn't want to really swing into it because they just let you combo with a super combo Beerus and then untap an energy. And then next, 2 of the Frieza Unending Onslaught. So good at recovering some of your pieces that gets into the drop. The other thing I'll mention is that I'll swing with my coolers and stuff with 1 energy opened, and if my opponent swings on my cooler, I can just act the battle, put it back in my hand. So basically they wasted a swing. So that's why I really like these. And I do a 2-2 split of those. I will mention some adjustments later, but let's go over the side deck real quick, and then we can talk about more detailed matchups. Okay, we have 1 of Fu, Shredder, and a Mystery. Just really good in the grindy games. A lot of decks can't really answer it. It is a 10 cost, so it does get ahead of the Invoker counterplay. 2 Haru-Harus. There's still a lot of yellow and green, Surge Piccolo, Surge Q kind of decks, so being able to untap. You do have to watch out for hidden potential, but I'll mention why we still plays against Surge Piccolo later. 1 of SCR Frieza against some of the other mid-range decks where you're going to turn 5 to board wipe, discard, get rid of 1 of their negate swing. I honestly haven't really decided. I'd prefer if I had a Smoke Dragon, but I don't own one. But it's there just in case. 1 Destruction Champa, basically double strike super combo. If you want, you can main 1, you can side 2, your choice. I just side 1, I'm greedy. And then here's the other reason we have a Haru. So we have the 2 Brolys, good against a lot of matches where people leave energy open, specifically against the Surge Piccolo. What we'll do is play the Broly to get a look at their hand first, or make them play counterplay, and then so on turn 4 this is, and then we Haru, and we untap our 4, and we get to basically reset our energy. So it forced them to commit to a tap out that they didn't want to, while also letting us be basically where we started with a crit 15k out. Next, 2 Denial of Hope's decent in the mirror match because we can stop arrival coolers and such. We can stop topos. Yes, the attack still gets negated, but the auto doesn't go off. And just generally against a few little random annoying things, Denial of Hope helps. 2 copies of Emperor's Death Beam. A good in Invoker matchup, good in the mirror match because it's a way to answer the 30k Frieza without committing your board, because you want to have less battle cards in the mirror match. So that's pretty helpful. 2 Tyrant Cost. This is used in like hand destruction matchup to draw cards, and of course in the Invoker matchup, because they might have a big hand. You want to keep about the same hand size, if not more than them, so that helps keep with them. And finally, 2 Whist Coercion. So this is for number 1 Invoker because it is another extra card. And number 2, the Yolohan matchup. If they don't tap you out, or even if they do, you can use a Super Combo Cooler to, the Super Combo Beerus to untap. It maybe not take one of the hits, and then on the next hit we Coercion. They don't always expect it, so it is still helpful in the Yolohan matchup. Along with, if for some reason they aren't tapping you out, the main deck counter attack Gohans are useful. In terms of the deck, I will say Invoker can be a little tough. You have to be very aggressive against Invoker, is a thing you have to keep in mind. So against Invoker, you want to mainly mulligan for the Intensifying Power Trunkses and the 1-drop freezes. So you do not use this on your own, on your opponent's turn. There's no reason not to take damage from them, because odds are they want to win by Victory Strike, not by Burn. A lot of people don't even run the Burn anymore, because they'd rather not swing at their opponent at all. So this lets you swing at your opponent for 10, you pay 1, make them 0. Even if they do their active battle, they're only at 5, they have to dedicate cards at hand, so they're taking the life anyway, and of course the Trunks helps you awaken. So they can get to your other side, it's also a crit. Do not waste energy on your opponent's turn trying to defend their swings, let them swing at you. They know they're not going to kill you with life anyway, so only use this ability during your turn. So that's what I say for the Invoker matchup. And of course, for the side in for the Invoker matchup, we add in 2 of the Whist Coercion because it's another extra card. They only get 2 discards with their leader ability, so between the 3 Afterimages and 2 Whists, you should have extra cards to play against their Victory Strike, 2 costs, 2 Death Beams. The important part is you won't draw, but you still get a mill off this. So if they're topping every turn, and they play their 3-drop Vegeta, and they leave 1 energy open because they awaken. A lot of times people turn 3 Vegeta, then awaken, so they have the 1 energy open, or some people wait till the turn 4. Against me, they normally do a turn 3 just because I'm so aggressive, but I've seen a turn 4 too. So they have 1 energy open, they expect to be able to do a Invoker, but then you go active main during your turn, get rid of their guy, they also mill 1, and people are so used to just putting their best card on top with Tournament of Power that you basically get to snipe a second good card doing that. And finally, I'd add in the Fu Shrouded in that matchup, because they have no out to it. If you can get to turn 6, you just win against them with that. So that's what I do for the Invoker matchup, and I already said the mulligan I'd do. Next, let's talk about which matchup do we want to talk about? Surge Q, I guess. For Surge Q, I'd add in the Haru-Harus, the Brolys. I would still add in the Double Strike Paragus a lot of the time, because they can't stop leader. But really, I don't side that much against them, because there's not too much I can do in that matchup. Not too much extra I can do. I wouldn't really do the Fu, because they can still use leader abilities. So, I mean, yeah, it won't shut this off because it's a auto, but I don't think I'm getting to turn 6 against them. But if you really think you can grind it out, go ahead and add the Fu in. I think it's already tough adding these in, because there's not a lot you want to take out in that matchup. So you probably want to take out 1 Afterimage because they run their own Fu. So your negates aren't as useful. And you probably want to take out another one of your negates, your choice, and a few other little things you pick from. But really not much you can side out in that matchup, and not much you can side in. Next, let's talk about... Probably put him there just to have something in the middle of the screen all the time. If you want, we can talk about Surge Piccolo. So Surge Piccolo is a little bit tough because the leader doesn't draw as much. Their discard can get ahead of you. So right away you want to add in the Tyranny's Cost. And then I would say probably Champa for the double strike lethals. And then once again, this is what I mentioned. And probably the Foo is the things you try to add in. In this matchup, since it's hand destruction, and they really aren't going to play a lot of battle cards, you can remove things like the... Wow, my screen is just all over the place. I'm sorry. Let me move these out the way. So probably the mock speeds. I'd say a lot of things that hit battle cards are a lot weaker. A couple negates can come out. Probably a topo because it discards and your opponent's not going to have a wide board. So things like topo also. We try to make room for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 cards. So let me try to do this to actually get the numbers going. We are adding in a multicolor card, so we can probably take out a Hercule Boo, because it doesn't do a lot in this matchup. One of those. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 2 more. So if you really want, we can get rid of 1 more Hercule Boo. And then I'd say a negate. If you really want to just go down 2 topos, keep 2 freezes, 2 Gohans, 2 topos, is an okay way to do it. And there would be your side out for that match. I will discuss some changes to the deck though that will help against discard a little bit. What about the Yolohan matchup? Let's talk about that a little bit too, right? So against Yolohan, we basically want to add in the Oasis Coercion and the Double Strike Champa, because you want to be able to threaten that lethal with the random Double Strike Champa and the 2 Oasis Coercion. The match should be pretty quick, so I would say you want to take out a lot of your late game. So probably take out a Frieza, because you're not going to get to it very easily. You still want to keep the negates in though. And maybe like 1 Boo because it's a 10k. And then maybe 1 more Frieza, depending on how many Friezas you're running. It's tough because you're not really adding multi in is the problem. So I'd be careful with how much you add in. So I'd look into possibly, or you can even do double Frieza, keep the Boos in, because the Boo can kind of help you. Keep the Boo in. And then for the last card, you don't want to do a multi because it's a little bit greedy. So you probably want to like remove 1 mock speed, because it doesn't do that much. The other option, if you don't want to move mock speed, is Exploring Weakness, because it's hard to get to 3 energy in that matchup, depending on who's on the play. And mock speed might be able to do a little bit more for you. So those are your options there for the Yolohan matchup. Not really much, but it's a very aggressive matchup, so you don't really expect to side much and stuff like that. So we covered Yolohan, Surge Q, Invoker, Surge Piccolo. I think that covers most things. So now let's go over the changes to the deck. So if we were to change this deck, including the fact that we have Championship Pack Frieza, basically what you're going to be doing is making the deck more resilient to hand destruction. First of all, the side deck does not change at all. So that's a good thing, right? I'm just trying to get this back in order to make it a little bit easier to digest what's going on here. These are all my twos. I should have not done this live. I mean, it's a recording, but you guys know what I mean, right? Okay, 4. Alright, looks like we're where we want to be. 1, 2. There's all my boys. 3, 4. Okay. So let's go over what we would change in this deck if we wanted to add in the championship pack freezes. So we'd still be at 4 coolers, but we'd only be at 3 freezes. We definitely do not need 4 anymore. As crazy as that sounds, because we are running a card that lets us get it out, we need to make room, and it's one of the weakest cards. If you really want to, if you want to keep the 4 freezes in, remove 1 boo. Those are your options, but I'd rather keep 4 boos, 4 coolers, and 3 freezes personally. We're still going to keep 4 super combo Beerus. And we're still going to have 4 check lands, of course. That's not going to change. 4 Senzu Beans. 4 Tobos for now, although I will mention something later on. We're only going to have 2 of the Kaioken Gokus now, not 3. So we want to take one of these out. So that's 2 cards out so far. Still 3 after images. Still, and then still 2 Vegetas, 2 counterattack freezes, 2 Gohans. We're not going to have any combo attack coolers now. And we still have these 2, but now is the changes. So we want to add in a 3rd one of these, because it's a 3-drop blue Frieza for our deck, so that we can actually use the championship pack Frieza. So there's 1 card out. We have 3 cards left. One of those cards will turn into a draft box for Frieza. So this is another blue 3-drop Frieza. It's got barrier and blocker, which is great. And against hand destruction, the fact that you can play this from your drop for 3 energy means that you can discard it, and you can discard your champ pack Frieza. And right away you go, oh, I'm not using any dedicated resources from hand. But only 1. And then the last 2 cards will be champ pack Friezas. If you really wanted to add a 3rd champ pack Frieza, this is why I mentioned the Topos. Against non-aggro matchups, it is a little bit underwhelming. So you'd cut 1 Topo, go down to 3 Topos, go to 3 championship pack Friezas, is how that would go. I'll put the deck lists in the comment section. I'm not going to mention the Topo removal, just remember in the video, if you really want to go to 3 champ pack Friezas, you would remove 1 Topo. I hope this was enjoyable. I hope you guys have luck with your shop championships. I did get a buy for getting 2nd because we had enough people to do, 3 or 4 buys in our tournament. So 2nd place gave me a buy for regionals. I'll probably go to the Albany, New York one because it's the closest one to me, just for fun. I already have my nationals invite for 2020, so it's not like I need to place in the regionals. But I wouldn't mind getting more champ pack cards. So it works out for me. I hope this was a fun hit my camera. I hope this was a fun video, everyone. Have a great day. Best of luck. And enjoy whatever you do. Bye.